Are we on? Are we on? Are we on? We're on. KeysDAN Show. It's the KeysDAN Show. I need a new theme for the KeysDAN Show. You might hear news. You might learn stuff. You never know what you're going to get on the KeysDAN Show. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, The KeysDAN Show. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. You know, I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Let me entertain you. Are you not entertained? Oh, yes. Speaking of entertainment, last night I was at, I had a wedding. A Friday night wedding. An unusual Friday night wedding. So nice to be out at a wedding on Friday night. It was at the Meadow on the Mountain in Atkins, Arkansas. What a beautiful location for a wedding. A great place to have a wedding. Yes, indeedy. For sure. And let's see, the Pasta Grill provided the catering, and Shingler Photography out of Russellville was the photographers. What a great team. What great people. Great place. The acoustics are wonderful. The venue looks beautiful. The wedding is outside. The party is inside. And just a great place to have an event. So Meadow on the Mountain, if you're thinking about getting married or having any kind of event, really, but it's really geared towards weddings because of the warmth, the feeling, the lighting, the wooden walls, the wood. It's just, it's well made for weddings, well suited for weddings. So Meadow on the Mountain, talk to Carla and Haley. I believe those are the wedding coordinators over there. At the Meadow on the Mountain, if you're looking to get hitched real soon. And I mean, if I may be so bold, if I could be privileged to be your DJ, yes, please consider me. KeysDAN, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. Yes. Tonight, let's see, as I'm recording this on Saturday night, Saturday, March 20th, 2021, I just got some surprising and exciting news. I will be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. Yeah, party on. Full bar, kitchen's open, pool tables. They got a pool. They got 10 diamond-styled pool tables at the Rab. I'm not sure what those are, but they sound impressive to me, and people seem to enjoy the high-quality pool tables at the Rab. So grab some drinks, have some good food from the kitchen, pool tables, and you could sing a song right next to me. I'll be spinning on the digital wheels of steel, and between songs, and you could sing those songs. You provide the entertainment at the Rab tonight, 8 p.m. until I think it's about 12:30 in the AM. So yeah, let's have a good time. Oh yeah, I guess wear a mask while you're walking around. When you walk in the room, put a mask on. While you're sitting down having your drinks, you could pull the mask down a little bit. See, taking care of each other, and we're out having a good time. Saturday night. All right, party people. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Saturday, March 20th, 2021. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, Biden-Harris meet with Asian American leaders in Atlanta following shooting. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris on Friday traveled to Atlanta, Georgia to meet with Asian American leaders following this week's shooting that left 8 people dead, including 6 women of Asian descent. In public remarks after the meeting, Biden alluded to a recent increase in violence against Asian Americans. saying they've spent a year, quote, living in fear for their lives, end quote. He called on other Americans to, quote, speak out, end quote, because, quote, our silence is complicity. We cannot be complicit, end quote. Harris, meanwhile, said the Biden administration would not, quote, stand by, end quote, in the face of racial violence. Authorities on Friday identified 4 victims of the shooting at 2 Atlanta spas, all 4 women of Asian descent. The shooting suspect's church on Friday also condemned the, quote, extreme and wicked act, end quote, as a, quote, total repudiation of our faith and practice. This is according to the Associated Press and the New York Times. Number 2, CDC cuts distant guidelines for students from 6 feet to 3. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released updated guidance for schools, saying students who are wearing masks can remain 3 feet apart in classrooms. Elementary school students should remain at least 3 feet apart from one another while continuing to practice universal mask use, says the CDC. Middle and high school students should follow the same guidance except in areas where COVID-19 transmission is high, in which case the CDC says they should stay 6 feet apart. Teachers and adult facility are still recommended to maintain 6 feet of distance, and the CDC says students should maintain 6 feet of distance when they can't wear masks and during activities such as band and sports. The change, quote, lays the groundwork for districts to reopen full-time for in-person classes, end quote, the Washington Post writes, noting that the previous guidance recommending 6 feet of distance for all students was criticized as, quote, overly cautious, end quote. This is according to NBC News and CNN. Number 3, U.S.-China officials wrap up Alaska talks. U.S. and China officials on Friday wrapped up their talks in Alaska without reaching any diplomatic breakthroughs. That was to be expected, but both sides suggested that, despite a contentious start to the high-profile meeting, there were at least some positives. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Beijing's team got defensive when the U.S. side raised allegations of Chinese human rights abuses in Xinjiang, Tibet, and Hong Kong, as well as cyber attacks and pressure on Taiwan. But he also said they were intersecting interests on Iran, North Korea, Afghanistan, and climate change. Quote, we expected to have tough and direct talks on a wide range of issues, and that's exactly what we did, end quote, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said. China's top diplomat Yang Jiechi told China's state-owned CGTN that the discussions were constructive, quote, but of course, there are still differences, end quote. This is according to Reuters. Number 4, U.S. surpasses Biden's goal of 100 million COVID-19 vaccine doses. The U.S. has administered its 100 millionth COVID-19 vaccine dose since President Biden took office, the White House confirmed on Friday, 1 day earlier. Biden announced the U.S. was set to hit this milestone, quote, weeks ahead of schedule, end quote, compared to his initial promise to distribute 100 million doses in his first 100 days in office. Friday marked his 58th day in office. Biden's goal, quote, meant to increase vaccine supply and then turning vaccines into vaccinations, end quote, said the White House pandemic response team in a tweet. Quote, given the 7-day average of new reported doses, the U.S. is currently on pace to have roughly 50% of the population vaccinated by May, end quote, reports Axios. Yes, this is according to Axios. Number 5, more European countries implement new coronavirus restrictions. France and Poland became the latest European countries to enter some form of pandemic lockdown amid a rise in coronavirus infections that officials worry could turn into a third wave. Around 21 million people in 16 areas of France, including Paris, are affected by the new measures, and trains to unaffected parts of the country were quickly booked. BBC reports. Poland began its nationwide restrictions Saturday after health officials warned they were necessary because of the spread of the more contagious variant first identified in the United Kingdom. The vaccine rollout in continental Europe has gotten off to a slow start, likely making it more challenging for countries to slow the spread. The United Kingdom, meanwhile, achieved a positive milestone Saturday, with half of all adults receiving at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine. This is according to the BBC. Number 6, judge denies motion to move Chauvin trial after Floyd family settlement. The murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin is set to continue as a judge has declined to delay it or move it to a new location. An attorney for Chauvin charged over the death of George Floyd in May 2020 has requested Hennepin County District Judge Peter Cahill delay and move the trial after the city of Minneapolis reached a $27 million settlement with Floyd's family. The attorney argued this news could, quote, taint the jury pool, end quote. But on Friday, Cahill denied the motion, concluding the case has received publicity in all parts of Minnesota. Cahill, however, previously dismissed 2 jurors as they said hearing about the settlement would make it difficult to remain impartial. 12 jurors have been selected, and opening statements will begin on March 29th. This is according to NBC News and The Week. Number 7, IOC. Local organizers officially bar foreign spectators from Tokyo Olympics. The International Olympic Committee and local organizers announced Saturday that foreign spectators will not be allowed at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, which are scheduled to begin July 23rd because of coronavirus restrictions. Word about the decision has been spreading for a while, but it's now official. About 1 million tickets have reportedly been sold to fans from outside Japan. Organizers have promised refunds, but that will ultimately be determined by so-called authorized ticket resellers that handle international sales, the Associated Press reports. Seiko Hashimoto, the president of the organizing committee, said if it weren't for foreign spectators having to secure flights and accommodations, it would have been possible to wait until the, quote, very last moment, end quote, to decide if it was safe to allow international visitors. But in reality, doing that would cause, quote, a lot of inconvenience, end quote. This is according to the Associated Press and the BBC. Number 8, current aide publicly accuses Cuomo of sexual harassment. A fifth aide in New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's Democrat office has come forward with allegations of inappropriate workplace behavior. Alyssa McGrath, who is the first current employee of the governor's office to publicly accuse Cuomo of sexual harassment, told the New York Times that the governor would, quote, ogle her body, remark on her looks, and make suggestive comments to her and another aide, end quote. She also told the Times that another current aide who accused Cuomo of groping her in the executive mansion described the encounter in detail to her after the New York Capital Region's Times Union reported the allegation last week. McGrath had added that her co-worker, who has not been publicly identified, said Cuomo specifically asked her not to tell McGrath about the alleged incident. Cuomo is under investigation after several women accused him of sexual harassment or inappropriate behavior. This is according to the New York Times. Number 9, no reports of casualties, damage after large earthquake strike Japan. A magnitude 7.0 earthquake struck northeastern Japan on Saturday, initially prompting a tsunami warning that has since a tsunami warning that has since been downgraded to a, quote, tsunami forecast, end quote, of slight changes in sea level, per CNN. The earthquake occurred off the coast of Ishinomaki, a city just 65 miles from Fukushima, the site of a 9.0 magnitude earthquake in 2011 that caused a tsunami that damaged several nuclear reactors in the area. More than 20,000 people were killed or went missing. Officials said there were no immediate reports of injury or major damage at this time. However, and nuclear reactors in eastern and northeastern Japan are reportedly secure. This is according to CNN and Deutsche Welle. Number 10, number of lawsuits against Texans Watson to reach 12. Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson was hit with 4 lawsuits alleging sexual misconduct on Friday, bringing the total number of such suits filed this week to 7. And Houston lawyer Tony Busby, who has filed all of the complaints, said he will soon file an additional 5 lawsuits against the NFL star. Each case involves a pattern of assault against female masseuses. ESPN reports that, quote, while 6 of the lawsuits allege these were one-time encounters, one woman alleges she was sexually assaulted by Watson on multiple occasions, end quote. One claimed to have been forced to perform oral sex on Watson, and, like the other alleged victims, now suffers from panic attacks and depression. The NFL is investigating, and the Texans say they are taking the matter, quote, seriously, end quote. Watson has denied all the allegations. This is according to ESPN and The Week. That's 10 things you need to know today for Saturday, March 20th, 2021. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, there's also other things happening on a March 20th, like on this date in history, March 20th. LBJ lends federal troops to Alabama to protect a civil rights march. On March 20th, 1965, President Lyndon Baines Johnson notifies Alabama's Governor George Wallace that he will use federal authority to call up the Alabama National Guard in order to supervise a planned civil rights march from Selma to Montgomery. Intimidation and discrimination had earlier prevented Selma's black population, over half the city, from registering and voting. On Sunday, March 7, 1965, a group of 600 demonstrators marched on the capital city of Montgomery to protest this disenfranchisement and the earlier killing of a black man, Jimmy Lee Jackson, by a state trooper. In brutal scenes that were later broadcast on television, state and local police attacked the marchers with billy clubs and tear gas. TV viewers far and wide were outraged by the images, and a protest march was organized just 2 days after Bloody Sunday by Martin Luther King Jr., head of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. King turned the marchers around, however, rather than carry out the march without federal judicial approval. After an Alabama federal judge ruled on March 18th that a third march could go ahead, President Johnson and his advisors worked quickly to find a way to ensure the safety of King and his demonstrators on their way from Selma to Montgomery. The most powerful obstacle in their way was Governor Wallace, an outspoken segregationist who was reluctant to spend any state funds on protecting the demonstrators. Hours after promising Johnson, in telephone calls recorded by the White House, that he would call out the Alabama National Guard to maintain order, Wallace went on television and demanded that Johnson send in federal troops instead. Furious, Johnson told Attorney General Nicholas Katzenbach to write a press release stating that because Wallace refused to use the 10,000 available guardsmen to preserve order in his state, Johnson himself was calling the guard up and giving them all necessary support. Several days later, 50,000 marchers followed King some 54 miles under the watchful eyes of state and federal troops. Arriving safely in Montgomery on March 25th, they watched King deliver his famous, quote, "How long? Not long," end quote speech from the steps of the Capitol building. The clash between Johnson and Wallace, and Johnson's decisive action, was an important turning point in the civil rights movement. Within 5 months, Congress had passed the Voting Rights Act, which Johnson proudly signed into law August 6th, 1965. That's this date in history, March 20th, 1965. Hey, also, I like to look at the days of the year calendar. Let's see, March 20th is Quilting Day. So if you're a quilter, you can quote today. Proposal Day. Today is Proposal Day? International, okay. I guess it's Proposal Day. So if you have a significant other that you've been waiting a long time to pop that question to, go ahead, do it today, March 20th. It's also World Storytelling Day. So if you have some stories to tell, I encourage you to tell them. You could tell them on the What Makes You Famous podcast, my other podcast, by the way. And it's also Kiss Your Fiancé Day. Hey, all right. I guess that goes hand in hand with the World Proposal Day. If you've proposed, I guess they'll be your fiancé after that. So you can kiss your fiancé on March 20th. Today is the International Day of Happiness. I like to consider myself a happy guy. I usually wake up with a smile on my face. Ignorance is bliss, I suppose. I'm always trying to fill my head with knowledge, though. That could be dangerous. Maybe that will chip away at my happiness and start to make me feel sad. But today, March 20th, is International Day of Happiness. Happiness on a personal level can make any day better and add great value to your life. But what if happiness was cherished on an international scale? How would that change the way the economy works or how societies function? International Day of Happiness aims to celebrate happiness all over the world, inspiring people to spread positivity, whether big or small, with others, and encouraging each nation to prioritize the happiness of its citizens. As one of, if not the key pursuit in human life, it's no surprise there's been endless philosophizing and discussion on the subject of happiness for thousands of years. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle, for example, argued that happiness is the only thing humans seek in and of itself. All our other wants and desires ultimately contribute to our happiness, while happiness itself is the end goal. And in the 18th and 19th centuries, utilitarians such as Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill developed an ethical theory that saw virtuous acts as those which maximize happiness and decrease suffering. Happiness can bring a fairer and more balanced approach to economic growth in particular, such that it foregrounds sustainable development, tackles poverty, and increases personal and social well-being. A great example of this is the East Asian country of Bhutan, which adopted the idea of gross national happiness over gross national product in the 1990s, prioritizing its citizens' happiness in all decisions relating to economic growth. The history of International Day of Happiness. International Day of Happiness has a truly global history regarding its creation. Back in 2011, the idea was introduced to the United Nations by the advisor Jamin Ilian. Ilian also founded the United Nations New Economic Paradigm Project and Happitalism, which aimed to change the way nations approach economic growth by focusing on happitalism over capitalism. The General Assembly of the United Nations agreed with the proposal and officially founded International Day of Happiness in July of 2012. With the occasion first being observed in 2013. The celebration acknowledges how important and desirable happiness is to people everywhere and how essential it is that happiness is incorporated into public policy. International Day of Happiness is celebrated and hosted by various organizations, including Action for Happiness, happinessday.org, and the United Nations. Through these websites and via social media, people can share inspirational stories about what makes them happy, how their happiness contributes to those around them, and how it can pave the way towards a better future. What do we mean by happiness? Happiness can be a difficult concept to define, but broadly it covers two key areas: how we feel in the present moment and how satisfied we are with our lives overall. Happiness can therefore range from a sudden rush of intense emotion such as joy or euphoria to a much calmer and steadier sense of contentment. There is some debate over the relative importance of these two aspects for achieving genuine happiness, with many arguing that long-term quality of life is more essential than short-term emotional highs. Indeed, the ancient Greeks believed in the concept of eudaimonia, happiness or flourishing. Under eudaimonia, happiness became associated with virtue and excellence, an ongoing activity or process through which individuals fulfilled their role in society to the best of their abilities. Various other cultures have also viewed happiness as a collective achievement, something the community should work towards together. More recently, and particularly in the West, the focus has turned towards our individual psychology and well-being as the source of contentment. How to celebrate International Day of Happiness. Celebrate International Day of Happiness by sharing what makes you happy, taking the time to notice and appreciate everything we have to be grateful for. Even the little things can lift our mood up and help us feel more content with life. And think about making this a regular habit, for example, by starting a gratitude journal. Good quality relationships are key to our happiness, so spend time with loved ones and try to rebuild any relationships that are going through a rough patch. Another simple tip for an improved quality of life is to get more sleep. So why not treat yourself to an early night and wake up feeling rejuvenated? Organizations such as Action for Happiness provide plenty of great resources that can set you on a journey to greater happiness. These include things like monthly action calendars and an app, both of which give you daily nudges on how to incorporate more positivity and mindfulness into your life. There are also a whole range of self-help articles and books available detailing various keys to happiness. Check out your local bookstore to see what's available. While these are great ways to increase your personal well-being, happiness also comes from our contributions to those groups and societies in which we live. So why not share these tools and resources with your friends, family, colleagues, and community? Try out a step-by-step program, meeting regularly with like-minded people to support each other in taking action and achieving happier lifestyles. And you could also donate or volunteer for a charity of your choice that promotes good deeds. Another way to reach out to others is through social media. It's an especially powerful tool for this day, as it allows us to share and spread our activities and the happiness they bring all around the world within seconds. Also, check out the World Happiness Report, published on the International Day of Happiness each year, which ranks cities and countries all around the world by happiness levels. Where do you and your community sit? However you celebrate International Day of Happiness, it's sure to bring a smile to your face. That's International Day of Happiness, March 20th. I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope you're feeling happy. Hey, I got a smile on my face, whether I'm happy completely on the inside, at least outwardly. I make an effort to express joy. Yeah, give a smile to somebody as you're passing by them on the street or on the sidewalk. You know, give them your smile, and hopefully they give one back. But don't expect one back. You know, it's not about that. It's about giving that sense of joy. So keep a smile on your face and hope everything's going well. Hey, that's it for this edition of the KeysDAN Show. Thank you so much for putting up with me. Also, hey, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace.